Sola is a family-owned company founded in 1922 in the Netherlands. For 100 years, we have been producing stainless steel cutlery of the highest quality, which is supplied to 95 countries around the world. Today, we would like to show you how our cutlery is made and the world of cutlery production. It starts with the tooling maker, who is filing out the design from a bar of steel. You can imagine that this job requires very precise workmanship, as this determines the final production outcome. Once the dies are made, the production process can start. The first step is raw material ordering, arrivals, and checking. This is how a coil of steel arrives at the Sola factory. This specific coil has been ordered straight from the steel mill and arrives already in a very specific thickness. The amount of steel ordered is calculated very carefully by the factory managers. The next step is blanking. You can imagine that you can't lift or work on this coil as it is way too heavy. Long parts are cut from this coil and the blanking process begins. Blanking is the cutting of the large coil into smaller, more workable square pieces. The next step is the cutting process. This is the step where the larger, more workable parts are cut in the exact shape needed for further steps. This is not random. Of course, these pieces are already large or small enough for the specific item they need to produce. It goes without saying that a soup spoon needs a bigger blanking cut compared to a teaspoon. In the video, you can see a large piece of steel being cut. The parts will fall into the tray underneath the machine for further process. Still, the pieces are very rough and have burrs on the sides. The following step is the rolling process. Rolling is the process where the head part of the fork and spoon is formed. The spoon bowl does not need to be as thick as the handle. Otherwise, it will be way too thick. The top part is rolled under two contra-turning round presses. The thickness is set at a specific thickness, and the head part is rolled between these two presses and will basically get squashed till it is thick enough. Next is the forming process. This is the stage where the actual design is pressed into the handles and neck part. This is a very important step for which you also need good machines and presses. These presses need to be strong enough to deform the steel in the mold to create a specific design. There is a top and bottom mold. The space in between is the exact thickness of the item they need to produce. That is also why the steel needs to be of the correct thickness, otherwise it won't fit. By large force, the shape of the design is pressed into the steel, forming the actual design. The next step is deepening. This is the part where the wide part of the fork and spoons are deepened and/or curved. A deepening mold with the actual shape of the bowl is pressed onto the wide part. The excess material is cut away and the rest is deepened to create a bowl for spoon or curved for fork. For the fork, there is also a step in between where the gap between the tines are cut. The end of the tines are kept to each other by a bridge in order to avoid the tines bouncing away to all sides because of the mechanical force. Later, this bridge is grinded off. Knives are produced differently. Small bars of steel are heated to make them soft enough to force them into the approximate shape of the knives. Large drop hammers will punch the steel into the first rough handle contour. And the next step will be cutting out the excess material and cutting out the blade of the knife. The next step is grinding. This is the stage where the rough edges and burrs are removed from the sides, neck part, end of handles, etc. Grinding is very, very important. It is in this process where the rough edges are removed properly. It is important to note that these men sitting here in this area need to be well trained. These workers need to have experience and a key eye on what they are doing and what they let pass on to the next step. These are the people you simply cannot replace. These workers receive proper and good education from Sola Netherlands. The following step is polishing. Polishing is more than giving the cutlery a nice shine. Our Sola factory uses fully automatic polishing carousels. Polishing paste is smeared onto a high-speed wheel. Then, the cutlery is pressed against the wheel, creating a lot of heat. The polishing paste does not only give the shine to the cutlery, it also closes the surface of the material. There is also a line where they use a special machine called flippers. Flippers are basically a large clamp with the handles in which 1 dozen or more items are placed into. The clamp is closed and put into a machine with a wide polishing wheel. The entire device is pressed on the spinning wheel and multiple pieces can be polished at the same time. Next is the logo placement. There are 3 types of logos available. 1. Stamped logo. 2. Etched logo. 3. Laser logo. 1. The stamped logo is the most commonly used. The logo is punched into the piece of cutlery on either the front or back. A logo die is used for this. The logo is carved into a piece of square or round block of steel in mirror and then pressed into the cutlery. The image will then appear so you can read it, or the toolmaker can already have the logo made inside the mold. When pressed, the logo is automatically placed into the cutlery already. The advantage is that you do not have to press the logo in it later. The disadvantage is that in case the logo needs to be changed or positioned, you need to make a new mold. We do this procedure when we know the volumes are big and no changes are foreseen in the near future. 2. An etched logo is more difficult and is a slower process. First, you need a piece of nylon fabric with the logo printed on it. This fabric is placed in a machine that has acid run through it. Then the cutlery is pressed against the fabric and electricity applied to the nylon. The combination of the electrified acid and nylon logo gives a black, dark gray imprint on the cutlery. 3. Laser logo is also possible. Expensive, but sometimes inevitable in case the logo needs to be large, like on trays or coffee pots, or when very detailed. The next step is washing and cleaning. Once the production process is completely finished, all items will be washed in large washing stations. This is to remove all the polishing residue, so they will be ready for usage. Last but not least, quality control. Each Sola product is checked before packing, as quality is our highest priority. This is a separate department simply checking each and every specification. They are instructed by the factory managers. And the final step is packing. After this, the goods will be packed per piece in plastic bags and then in strong export cartons. Each case can be packed according to our client's specification. After the production process, the goods can now be transported to our customers and our Sola warehouses all around the world.